let's talk a little bit about language and your dad, because we've been doing a ton on political correctness. Your dad was not only the most unpolitically correct person, but hated it with a passion.
Yeah.
Right? He really hated it and used words in a way to show us how silly we are being about things all the time. And I think right now we're in this very bizarre place in our country where we're afraid of certain words, we're afraid of offending people. You talked about the line before and pushing the limits of the line, jumping over the line. What do you think he would make of what's going on in this country right now with words and fear of talking about this?
I think he would make what he's always made of it. I mean, in the early 90s, this was going on in colleges too. I was at UCLA and actually did a forum on political correctness and invited my dad to come and do that. And that was coming out of the Reagan era. You know, so there was a lot of that. But if you really think about it, like political correctness, there's something about like polite society, like we're not allowed to talk about certain things, you know. I think it kind of grows out of that. But, you know, for him, he was always bothered by the fact that it comes from a place of people wanting, you know, respect for tolerance, you know, of each other and our identities.
Right.
So it's
sort of well-intentioned.
It's very
right?
well-intentioned.
Yeah.
And my dad grew up in Harlem. He grew up in Harlem.
Yeah.
Irish, white Harlem, right next to black and Spanish Harlem.
Yep.
And yes, he would have called it Black Harlem. And
that doesn't make him racist.
It does not make him racist. And so he very much identified with the black experience, the outsider experience. And growing up, the N-word was never, ever said in our house. And my dad told me it is the one word. I mean, I was allowed to say any of the words.
Yeah. You could say all 7 for TV.
Yes, but say them in the right places. He didn't want me getting in trouble at school and other people's houses, but the N-word was one where that was Kelly, never, ever, ever. So he got the whole idea of people wanting to define themselves and having their own identity. That's a very important thing, and I think it's an important part of evolution of our species. But when you do it by not tolerating other speech and suppressing language and speech, I think he believed that was not the route to go about this. That, you know, using intolerance to increase tolerance, it just doesn't fit or something, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, here's the thing about speech in our country. I mean, if anyone's into the First Amendment, it's always
that old thing.
You know that thing.
Yeah.
It's always a balance between two forces, you know. And so here we are, where it's about freedom versus sensitivity. Both things are important, really important. But you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right. I would argue that freedom is a little more important than sensitivity, right?
Well, for you it is.
Yeah.
For some other people it isn't, you know. But this is the great thing about a democracy and the way we work this stuff out is by having free speech and a marketplace of ideas.
Yeah.
So therefore, if you're trying to control people's speech, then are you really having a marketplace of ideas? And we're not talking about people bullying people and insult comics,
right,
and comics who want to hurt feelings, or, you know, the whole rape thing that went down. I mean, there is obviously...
Right, we're not talking about hate speech.
Right, we're not talking about hate speech,
yeah,
exactly. But the thing is, my dad did talk about is that stand-up comedy is a monologue. It's not a conversation. It's an art form that it's a monologue.
Yeah.
It was his bully pulpit. He used to say, the audience, I'm here for me and the audience is here for me. He wasn't here for them. He's not there to do a seminar, and he's not, even though he was professorial, he was not there to change the world in some way.
Yeah.
He was there to get shit off of his chest, and he did it in a certain way. And so I would love to know his new take on all this college stuff and all this stuff going down, but I think it would be built on a lot of this stuff.